Good evening, everyone. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and remember to leave a comment below to let us know where you're watching from. That way, YouTube will make sure you don't miss any updates by showing you stories just like this one every time. Tonight, I'm bringing you 3 Halloween horror stories that will make you think twice about trick-or-treating after dark, answering your door to strangers, or trusting that the scariest things on Halloween are just people in costumes. These are real experiences from real people, and they happened on what's supposed to be the most fun night of the year. Now let's begin. Picture this. Halloween night, 2019. A quiet suburban street in Ohio. A father opens his door expecting to see kids in superhero costumes, but instead, he sees something that makes his blood run cold. A figure standing perfectly still, wearing a mask he recognizes. A mask that shouldn't exist anymore. A mask he buried 6 years ago with his daughter. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Marcus Chun, and I need to tell you what happened to me on Halloween night 4 years ago. I still can't sleep properly. I still check my locks 3, 4, sometimes 5 times before bed. And I never, ever answer my door after dark anymore. It started like any other Halloween. I was living in a small town called Riverside, Ohio. Nice neighborhood. The kind of place where people actually knew their neighbors' names. My wife, Jennifer, had taken our son Dylan trick-or-treating around the block. I stayed behind to hand out candy. I remember sitting in my living room around 8:30 p.m., watching some horror movie marathon on TV, bowl of candy next to me. The doorbell had been ringing steadily all evening. Kids dressed as zombies, princesses, dinosaurs, the usual stuff. Then the doorbell rang again. I grabbed the candy bowl and opened the door with a smile, ready to compliment whatever costume stood before me. But the smile died on my face instantly. Standing on my porch was a figure, maybe 5'6", wearing all black. But that's not what froze me in place. It was the mask. The mask was handmade, crudely painted. A white ceramic face with red tears drawn down the cheeks and a crooked smile. It looked like something a child would make, because it was something a child had made. My daughter, Emma, had made that exact mask in art class 6 years before she died of leukemia. She was 9 years old. We'd buried that mask with her because it was her favorite thing she'd ever created. She'd worn it every single Halloween. I stood there, unable to move, staring at this impossibility. The figure didn't say trick or treat. Didn't hold out a bag. Just stood there, perfectly still. The mask staring at me with those painted red tears. Where did you get that? I finally managed to whisper. No response. Just that horrible stillness. Where did you get that mask? I shouted. The figure tilted its head slowly, then raised one hand and pointed past me, into my house. I spun around, heart hammering. My living room was empty, TV still playing, candy bowl on the couch, nothing out of place. When I turned back, the porch was empty. The figure was gone. I ran into the street, looking both ways. The street was full of families, kids running from house to house, but no figure in black, no mask. It had vanished. I went back inside, hands shaking, and called Jennifer. Come home, I told her. Right now. While I waited, I started checking the house. Every room, every closet, every window, all locked, nothing disturbed. I was starting to think I had hallucinated the whole thing when I walked past Dylan's bedroom. His door was open. I always kept it closed. I pushed it wider and stepped inside. Everything looked normal at first. His bed, his toys, his little desk by the window. Then I saw it. Sitting on his pillow was a piece of paper. I picked it up with trembling hands. It was a drawing, a child's drawing in crayon. It showed a house, my house, with stick figures inside. A man, a woman, a little boy. And standing outside the house, watching through a window, a figure in a white mask with red tears. At the bottom, written in red crayon in a child's handwriting, were 3 words. She misses you. I heard the front door open. Jennifer and Dylan coming home. I shoved the drawing in my pocket and ran downstairs, checking on them, making sure they were okay. I didn't tell Jennifer what happened. Not yet. I convinced myself someone was playing a cruel prank. The next morning, I drove to the cemetery. I had to see for myself. Emma's grave was undisturbed. The grass was neat, the headstone clean, but there was something at the base that hadn't been there before. Something that made my stomach drop. A pile of Halloween candy, the exact same brands I'd been handing out the night before. That's when I pulled out my phone and started searching. I called the cemetery management. I called the funeral home. I needed to know. I needed to be sure. The director finally told me something that made my world tilt. 3 months earlier, there had been an incident. Someone had broken into the cemetery storage facility. Several items from various plots had been stolen, including decorative objects from burial services. Items like handmade ceramic masks. But here's the thing that still keeps me up at night. Here's what I can't explain. I reviewed our doorbell camera footage. I'd forgotten we'd installed one the previous year. I watched the footage from Halloween night, my hands shaking as I scrolled to 8:30 p.m. The video shows me opening the door, shows me staring at the porch, shows me shouting, shows me looking terrified. But the porch is empty. There's no one there. I'm standing in my doorway, screaming at nothing. The mask is still missing from Emma's grave. That drawing is locked in my safe. And sometimes, late at night, I hear my doorbell ring even though we disconnected it. I never answer, because I'm afraid that if I look through the peephole, I'll see that mask staring back. And this time, I won't be hallucinating. It's 11:55 p.m. on Halloween night. You've turned off your porch light. You've locked your doors. The trick-or-treating is over. So when you hear that knock, that slow, deliberate knock, you know something is wrong. Because no parent lets their child out this late, and no child would be out alone. But Sarah Mitchell answered that knock anyway. She wishes she hadn't. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a 28-year-old elementary school teacher from Portland, Oregon. What happened to me 2 Halloweens ago changed everything I thought I knew about reality, about what's possible, about what comes knocking after midnight. I just moved into my first house, a small craftsman-style place in the Hawthorne district. I was so excited. Finally, a place of my own. My first Halloween as a homeowner. I went all out decorations, a full bowl of good candy, the works. I'd been handing out candy until about 10:30 p.m. The last group of kids came by, teenagers, clearly too old, but whatever. I gave them candy with a smile. After they left, I turned off the porch light, locked up, and settled in with a glass of wine and a horror movie. Perfect Halloween night. Around 11:40 p.m., I was getting ready for bed when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. It was way too late for trick-or-treaters. I crept to the door and looked through the peephole. Standing on my porch was a child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, wearing a Halloween costume, a simple white sheet ghost costume, like something from a cartoon. The kind kids wore in the 1950s. 2 eye holes cut out, old-fashioned. But here's what was strange. The child was alone, completely alone. No parents, no other kids, and it was almost midnight. I didn't open the door. Instead, I called out, "It's too late for trick-or-treating, honey. Where are your parents?" The small figure didn't respond, didn't move, just stood there under my porch light. "Sweetie, you need to go home," I said louder. "It's not safe to be out this late." Still nothing. The figure just stood there, that white sheet perfectly still, not even moving with breath. I pulled out my phone and almost called the police. But then I thought, what if this kid is lost? What if they need help? What kind of teacher would I be if I didn't at least make sure they were okay? So I opened the door. The second I opened it, the cold hit me. It was a chilly October night, but this was different. This was a bone-deep cold that seemed to emanate from a small figure. "Hey there," I said gently, crouching down. "Are you lost? Do you need me to call someone?" The figure tilted its head, slowly, unnaturally. Then, in a voice that didn't sound quite right, too flat, too adult, it said, "Trick or treat." I forced a smile. "I'm sorry, sweetie, but I'm out of candy. It's really late. Let me call your parents, okay?" The figure took a step forward. into my house. "Whoa, no, you need to stay outside," I said, standing up, blocking the doorway. "Trick or treat," the voice repeated. Exactly the same tone, same inflection, like a recording. That's when I noticed the smell. Old fabric, mothballs, and underneath, something else. Something rotten. "You need to leave," I said firmly, my teacher voice kicking in. Right now, the figure stood in my doorway. I could see through the eye holes now, but I couldn't see eyes. Just darkness, empty darkness. "Trick or treat," it said again. My heart started pounding. I said, "I don't have any candy. You need to go." I moved to close the door, but the figure shot out a hand, impossibly fast, and grabbed the doorframe. The hand was small, a child's hand, but it was wrong. The skin was grayish, too cold. "Let go," I shouted, trying to push the door closed. "Trick or treat." Louder this time. "I don't have any candy." The figure went completely still. Then, in that flat, dead voice. Then trick. The porch light went out. Darkness swallowed everything. In that split second of blackness, I felt breath on my face. Cold breath that smelled like dirt and decay. The light flickered back on. The figure was gone. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and backed away, gasping. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold my phone as I dialed 911. The police came. They searched my yard, my street. Nothing. No sign of any child. They clearly thought I'd been drinking too much wine or had a bad dream. But I knew what I'd experienced was real. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with every light on, a knife in my lap, watching the door. Around 3 a.m., I started hearing it. Knock, 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 but not at my front door. At my bedroom window. Second floor. I crept upstairs, heart in my throat. I pulled back the curtain an inch and looked out. Nothing. Just my empty yard. The street beyond. No ladder. No way anyone could reach a second-story window. But there on the glass, pressed against it from the outside, was a small handprint. A child's handprint, in condensation that shouldn't exist on the outside of the window. I moved out 2 weeks later. I couldn't stay in that house. But before I left, my neighbor, an elderly woman who'd lived on the street for 40 years, stopped me. "Did something happen?" she asked gently. I almost didn't tell her, but something in her eyes made me think she'd believe me. So I did. I told her everything. She went pale. Then she said, "What date was it when you saw the child?" "October 31st. Halloween. 2 weeks ago." She closed her eyes. "That's the anniversary." "Anniversary of what?" She told me that 30 years ago, Halloween night, 1993, a child went missing in our neighborhood. A little boy named Timothy Walsh, 8 years old. He'd been trick-or-treating alone, against his parents' wishes. Wearing a homemade ghost costume his grandmother made him, he knocked on the wrong door. The door of a man who did terrible things. Timothy was never seen again. His body was never found. But every Halloween since then, neighbors have reported the same thing. Late at night, around midnight, a child in an old-fashioned ghost costume, knocking on doors, asking for trick or treat. And if you don't have candy to give, he comes inside to take something else. The elderly neighbor asked me one more question before I left. Did you give him anything? Any candy at all?" "No," I whispered. I told him I didn't have any. She grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Then he marked you. Every Halloween, he'll come back. He always comes back for those who refused him." That was 2 years ago. I moved to a different state, changed my address, my phone number, everything. But last Halloween, at 11:55 p.m., I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. I live in an apartment now, 5th floor. No fire escape outside my door, but the knocking came anyway. And through the peephole, I saw that white sheet, those empty eye holes. I didn't answer. I'll never answer again. But he knows where I am. And every Halloween, at 11:55 p.m., he'll come back. Because I didn't give him his treat. And he hasn't given me my trick. Yet. There's a pumpkin patch outside of Salem, Massachusetts, that doesn't advertise, doesn't show up on maps. But every Halloween it appears, and if you're unlucky enough to find it, you become part of the harvest. Melissa Torres found it 3 years ago. She's the only one who made it out. My name is Melissa Torres. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a graphic designer from Boston. 3 years ago, I went to a pumpkin patch with 3 of my closest friends for a fun Halloween weekend. Only I came back, and I'm not sure I'm still completely me. It was supposed to be a girls' weekend. Me, Rachel, Kimberly, and Joanna. We've been friends since college, and every October, we try to do something Halloween-themed together. That year, Rachel found this listing on some obscure travel forum. Historic pumpkin patch outside Salem. Off the beaten path. Authentic old-world Halloween experience. Sunset tours only. The reviews were glowing. People calling it transformative and unforgettable. The pictures showed this beautiful, rustic farm with perfect rows of pumpkins, an old barn, corn mazes. It looked magical. We booked it immediately. Looking back, I realized we should have questioned why there was no official website. No address, just GPS coordinates. No phone number, just an email. But we were excited. We wanted an adventure. We got one. We drove out on October 30th, the day before Halloween. The GPS took us down increasingly rural roads, deeper into the countryside outside Salem. Eventually, we turned onto a dirt path that wasn't on any map. Are we sure this is right? Kimberly asked from the back seat. Rachel checked her phone. GPS says we're almost there. Just another mile. The dirt path wound through dense woods. No other cars. No houses. Just trees pressing in on both sides. Then, suddenly, the woods opened up, and there it was. The pumpkin patch stretched before us, impossibly vast. Rows and rows of pumpkins, perfectly orange, perfectly round. An old weathered barn in the distance. Corn stalks swaying in the breeze. And the sun, sitting behind it all, painting everything in gold and crimson. It was beautiful. Too beautiful. We parked in a small dirt lot, empty except for an old pickup truck. As we got out, a figure emerged from the barn. A man, tall, maybe 60 years old, wearing overalls and a wide-brimmed hat. He had a kind face, a warm smile. "Welcome, welcome," he called out. "You must be the 5 o'clock reservation." "That's us," Rachel said brightly. He walked over and shook each of our hands. His grip was strong, calloused, a farmer's hands. "Name's Silas," he said. "I'm the keeper of this patch. Been in my family for generations. You ladies picked a perfect evening for it. Now the sun sets in about an hour. So let's get you started on the tour, shall we?" We followed him into the patch. The pumpkins were incredible, huge, flawless. The kind you'd see in magazines. "Pick any you like," Silas said. "We'll load them into your car at the end. But first, let me show you the heart of the patch. The oldest section. That's where the magic really is." He led us deeper in, away from the barn, away from our car, into rows of pumpkins that looked older somehow, more twisted, darker orange, almost red. The sun was setting fast now, shadows growing long. "This section's been growing for over 200 years, Silas said proudly. "Each pumpkin has a story, a life, a life." Joanna laughed nervously. "What does that mean?" Silas turned to look at us. His smile hadn't changed, but his eyes were completely black. No whites, no irises, just black. "It means," he said softly, "that every pumpkin here holds a soul, and every Halloween, the patch needs replenishing." Rachel grabbed my arm. "Okay, this is weird. We're leaving." We turned to go back the way we came, but the path was gone. Just more pumpkins. Rows and rows stretching in every direction. The barn was nowhere in sight. "What the hell?" Kimberly whispered. Silas's voice came from behind us, different now. Deeper. Multiple voices layered together. "You accepted the invitation. You came at sunset. You stepped into the old rows. The rules are ancient. The harvest must be completed." We ran. God, we ran so fast. Through rows of pumpkins that seemed to multiply. The sky darkened impossibly quick. Within seconds, it was full night. But the pumpkins around us, they were glowing. Not from candles, from within. And in that glow, I could see faces. Human faces. Pressed against the inside of the pumpkin shells. Mouths open in silent screams. "Keep running." Rachel screamed. We heard Silas behind us, but his footsteps sounded wrong. Too many of them, like dozens of people chasing us. Joanna tripped, fell into a pumpkin. The thing split open, and vines, thick, ropey vines, shot out and wrapped around her legs. "Helping me," she screamed, clawing at the dirt. We tried to pull her free, but the vines were impossibly strong. They dragged her into the pumpkin patch, into the earth. Her screams were cut off as the soil closed over her face. A new pumpkin sprouted where she'd been. Within seconds, it grew to full size. I could see her face inside it. Trapped. Aware. "Go," Rachel yelled. "We can't save her." "Run." We scattered. Me, Rachel, and Kimberly. We ran in different directions, hoping to confuse whatever was chasing us. I heard Kimberly scream about 30 seconds later. Then nothing. I kept running. My lungs burned. My legs felt like lead. The pumpkin patch seemed endless. No matter which direction I ran, there were only more rows. More glowing faces trapped in orange shells. Then I heard Rachel. "Melissa, over here." I found the edge. I changed direction, following her voice. And there it was. The tree line. The woods beyond. Escape. Rachel was already at the edge, waving me forward. "Come on. Hurry." I sprinted toward her. 20 feet away. 10 feet. 5 feet. Rachel reached out her hand to me, and then I saw it. Her reflection in a nearby pumpkin's glossy surface. It wasn't Rachel. It was Silas, wearing Rachel's face like a mask, smiling at me with too many teeth. I skidded to a stop. The thing dropped its disguise. It reached for me with hands that were now vine and root and bone. I dove to the side, rolled, scrambled to my feet, and ran parallel to the tree line. Behind me, I heard Rachel's real voice, distant, screaming, "Melissa, don't leave me." I didn't stop. God forgive me, I didn't stop. I found a gap in the trees, crashed through, branches tearing at my face and arms. And then I was on a road, a real road, a car coming around the bend. I stumbled into its path, and it screeched to a halt. An elderly couple. They took one look at me, covered in dirt and blood and sobbing, and called 911. The police searched for 3 days. They found my car at the GPS coordinates. They found nothing else. No barn, no pumpkin patch, no signs of Silas, no signs of my friends. They decided we'd been victims of some elaborate prank gone wrong, that my friends had wandered off and gotten lost in the woods. Search parties combed the area. Nothing. After 2 months, the search was called off. After a year, my friends were declared legally dead. But I know the truth. I know where they are. Last Halloween, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a pumpkin. Small. Perfect. With a note. "Thank you for last year's harvest. We've saved a spot for you next October." I took the pumpkin to my kitchen. I don't know why. Maybe to prove to myself it was just a pumpkin. Just a stupid gourd. I got a knife. Started to cut into it. The blade went in easily. And then I heard a voice from inside the pumpkin. Faint. Distant. Rachel's voice. "Melissa, it's so cold here. We're still alive, we're still." I dropped the knife. Stumbled backward. When I looked at the pumpkin again, I saw it. In the cut flesh. An eye. A human eye. Rachel's eye. Staring at me. I burned that pumpkin. Burned in my fireplace and scattered the ashes. But every night since then, I've had the same dream. I'm back in the patch. Silas is standing over me, and he's planting a seed in the earth. He looks at me and says, "This one's yours. It'll be ready next Halloween. And when you come back to harvest it, you'll finally understand what it means to be rooted." I don't know what's going to happen this Halloween. It's 3 days away now. I've tried to run, tried to hide, but last night I looked out my window. There was a pumpkin on my doorstep. I didn't put it there. And inside it, I can see a face beginning to form. It looks like mine. If I disappear, if anyone finds this recording, please don't go looking for pumpkin patches that aren't on maps. Don't accept invitations to places with no addresses. And if you see a farm with perfect pumpkins and a man named Silas, drive away as fast as you can, because the harvest is patient and it always gets what it needs. Always. 3 stories, 3 Halloweens, 3 reminders that the scariest things aren't always the ones wearing costumes. Sometimes they're wearing your daughter's handmade mask. Sometimes they're standing at your door at midnight. And sometimes they're waiting for you in a field that shouldn't exist. If these stories kept you up tonight, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And most importantly, drop a comment below telling us, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you on Halloween? Stay safe out there this October 31st. Lock your doors, check your windows, and whatever you do, don't answer knocks after midnight. Until next time, sleep tight.